So Whittaker versus Ritter is coming up this weekend, and while the odds have Whittaker as a favourite, general talks amongst MMA fans are reflecting that, Ritter is on the way up, Whittaker's kind of on the way down, and a lot of people are favouring Ritter to win the matchup. Now, I'm not necessarily making a pick on this because Ritter is a very goofy kind of fighter, and Whittaker can be kind of hit or miss sometimes. But one thing's for sure, and I think it's that people are overlooking Robert Whittaker. So, obviously, Whittaker's last fight was against Khamzat Chimaev, where he got finished in the first round. That doesn't make me think that Whittaker's terrible, right? Khamzat is probably one of the most terrifyingly dominant first-round threats in the UFC. Just period, right? His shot, his double leg is so incredibly explosive and fast, and he gets down so low, it is near impossible to defend, at least in the beginning of the fight. And eventually he was able to submit Whittaker, but losing to Khamzat Chimaev is not a terrible thing. Whittaker still has very respectable takedown defense and has shown it multiple times. He just went up against, frankly, one of the most terrifying prospects the division has ever seen. And, Ritter isn't that kind of guy, right? He has a very interesting style. He's more of a jiu-jitsu guy, right? He favors those scrambles on the ground, and on the feet, he's very, very sloppy. Extremely sloppy, in fact. He makes du Plessis look technical. And that's not to say that his striking doesn't work, but this guy was getting pieced up on the feet by Gerald Meerschaert, right? And yes, he, finished Bo Nickel with knees to the body. Bo Nickel is not a middleweight. He is not a fighter. It's very clear that he quit, and I don't really think we should be using Bo Nickel as a metric to judge someone's striking. Bo Nickel has an overhand, and that's it. And it is very impressive, don't get me wrong, and Ritter has, made a very good splash in the UFC, but stylistically, he is just, not that great, especially against someone that's as technical as Whittaker. Whittaker is a thinking kind of man. He will, go where the fight needs to be taken. Right? He's going to pick you apart. If he's winning, clearly he's schooling you, right? You look against Vettori, you look against Costa, it's pretty clear. And Ritter is a guy that trudges forward, with his hands not really by his head, he throws punches really, really goofy, and he's, susceptible to being caught. And he doesn't really have the most, threatening wrestling game by any means, so I don't think, the fight's going to be taken to the ground via, a double leg or a single leg or a takedown by Ritter. I think if the fight's going to go on the ground, it's either because someone gets dropped or Whittaker decides to shoot. And he will shoot on, good grapplers. Like, he shot on du Plessis a lot in the first round. But Ritter just has a very hit or miss kind of game, with just how he wants to implement his best weapons. And Whittaker has a very consistently applicable game plan to fights. He's very good at the jab. He's very good at controlling distance. He's very good at blitzing in and out, right? He has a small handful of strikes that he sticks with, and he's very, very good at those. And, if you get someone like Ritter that is pretty sloppy and that just trudges forward and, can clearly be outstruck consistently throughout a fight, not just because of the chaos, but just due to technical flaws, Whittaker's just going to jab him up. And really bad. He's going to jab, he's going to teep, and I think this is how Whittaker should approach the fight. I think he should avoid the overhands. I do think Ritter has very, very good knees to the body, as he should. Even though Bo Nickel is Bo Nickel, the knee to the body as a counter to the overhand is, there. I think Whittaker should prioritize working with the jab, the knee stomp, start mixing in high kicks. If Ritter starts dipping off of the line of the jab and he starts, throwing punches a bit wild, that's when Whittaker can mix up the head kicks. Even then, I think, even if he gets in the clinch with Ritter and Ritter starts throwing knees, I've seen Whittaker's elbows. They're very, very good. I've seen them when he's rocked out of his mind against Yoel Romero. and he is constantly landing elbows. And to be honest, I actually really like that against Ritter. Traditionally, the counter to knees in close, at least in the clinch, is the elbow, and I like that weapon against Ritter quite a lot. But again, Whittaker, like, he gets a bad rap for these losses. Like, Strickland was talking insane amounts of smack about Whittaker, and a lot of people, put him to the back burner after these losses, and obviously MMA is a fickle sport, right? I've done the same with fighters before as well, but, losing to Khamzat Chimaev, losing to Dricus du Plessis is by no means an embarrassing thing, and, people could go and say, like, oh, he did get knocked out by du Plessis, who is a very goofy, physical striker, but the thing is, right, we had that assumption about him for so long, and then he got his nose fixed after Brunson, and the difference was night and day. And you look, right, du Plessis fought Strickland, one of the most difficult defensive strikers in the UFC. Beat him on the feet twice. Right, Adesanya was a bit more competitive, but again, had his moments on the feet and convincingly, hurt him on the feet on multiple occasions. And with Whittaker against du Plessis, they're both known for the blitz, right? Du Plessis is a little more built for it. He has a bit more power. He has quite a bit more power. He has quite a bit more durability. Whittaker's blitz is more a point fighting style, per se, right? He's, get in, get out. Du Plessis is get in, keep going. So I think against du Plessis, Whittaker's style kind of just contradicted itself. Well, against de Ridder doesn't necessarily blitz, he just walks and trudges forward. And again, we've seen a few times these guys that come from other promotions, they're not that good. They really aren't. I can't sit here and pretend like, guys coming from ONE or Bellator are just going to consistently do well, because that really isn't the case. He's had, he's fought some relatively low-level competition at middleweight. Yeah, okay, Meerschaert's a decent name, but very beatable, and de Ridder did not make it look easy. And then Kevin Holland at middleweight, it's Holland at middleweight, and you're a grappler. Congratulations, you beat him. Good on you. Still impressive, but it's nothing, ridiculous. And then you beat Bo Nickel, who I don't really think is going to have much success in his UFC career anymore. And Whittaker, again, like before that, he, cleared through Ikram Aliskerov in a round, and while Ikram may not be, top 10 level, he still is a very good technical fighter. And then Paulo Costa, I know I just made a video completely shitting over Costa, but you look at his performance against Roman Kopylov, like he makes it somewhat difficult against these guys, and Whittaker did really school him aside from that wheel kick. And again, Marvin Vettori, he dominated Vettori. Gastelum dominated him. Cannonier dominated him. Right, Till, difficult fight, but still pulled through. Whittaker is a very, very good, savvy, technical guy, and de Ridder does not really have the things that du Plessis has to make him very effective, right? He doesn't have that sort of wrestling game in his back pocket. He doesn't, have that good kickboxing background that du Plessis has, right? There's a few different things in du Plessis' game that make him really effective with that style, and I just don't think de Ridder is, that level, right? It's a big step up going from Bo Nickel to Robert Whittaker. Let's be real. Bo Nickel to Robert Whittaker. That is a massive jump. And while there is a very, very high chance that de Ridder, well, there's a decent chance that de Ridder wins. I think it's a very 50-50 fight. To, set Whittaker aside and say that, oh, he's washed, he's on his way out, right? It's not really. I really don't think that's the case. I really can't sit here and believe that. I trust in Whittaker's skills. The one thing I don't trust in is Whittaker's chin, and I think he should be alright in this fight, right? He hasn't really been chinned for a bit. He's shown good toughness, right? He's been able to recover, and de Ridder doesn't have the most insane knockout power, so I think that Whittaker is going to impress a lot of people in this fight and start his, final run towards the title, hopefully. But anyway, guys, I really can't wait for this fight. Let me know your thoughts down below. It's actually a really interesting stylistic matchup, a very technical striker on the feet, very technical grappler, one that's sloppy on the feet. It's a really good stylistic matchup, and it will be very, very exciting. So again, put your thoughts in the comments down below. It's a great card. Evloev did pull out, but we've still got Chodian versus Marcus McGee and Sharapov and Magomedov. It's gonna be great. So anyway, guys, see ya.